Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In these past few days especially, and I'm going to go talk about this a little bit on the channel itself in this video and also future videos, the PlayStation 5 and of course the next generation or next iteration of Xbox have been under quite a bit of decent bit more scrutiny, conversation, and everything else, somewhat in protruding towards like GTA 6, somewhat protruding towards the future games, and as well some folks also kind of assuming the PlayStation 5 and these current generation consoles aren't really, I guess, living up to stuff already, so why do we need that next generation of console? But right now it kind of seems like people are pushing the narrative right now where the PlayStation 5 Pro, PlayStation 6, or even like an Xbox Series X2, whatever it may be called, almost seems unnecessary, unneeded, and, well, just not something that people are really looking forward to at this current moment. So I'm going to talk about this, I want to go talk about the drama, I want to talk about some articles and everything else tied on in, and of course, if you guys have missed it, there's a brand new Samsung pre-order promotion going on, link down below, get $50 off. We'll also have the Twitter and Twitch link down below if you want to follow, of course, and as well, we also did reach out to the actual giveaway winner too, so going to have a little bit of an update for that one in the very near future too as well, so stay tuned for that. But basically, as I mentioned, the PlayStation 5 is going to be a somewhat older console now. PlayStation 5 Pro has been rumored for maybe potentially next year, and right now we don't feel like we've had a 100% optimization of the current PS5, and as well as also we haven't had that one major big game who kind of pushed it towards the limit. Like right now I can maybe say, funny enough, Ratchet & Clank was up there, or even God of War Ragnarok was also up there too as well. So it's intriguing to go and see this because it is there, like the graphics are there, the vibe is there, but we haven't seen that thing where it's like, oh my god, this is breathtaking. I really did think that when I saw Ratchet & Clank the first time a few years ago, but also due to stylistically, I'm not seeing like, the pores on the face and the scratches and whatever it might be, and that's why I'm kind of expecting a game like, say, a GTA 6 to push the limits. But that's also why some folks are curious, because what if that 30 FPS bonus isn't enough, and that leads towards the PS5 Pro will feel extra unnecessary this time around? And I kind of would agree. Off of very first initial thoughts, I do think the console itself, spec-wise, isn't really necessarily that needed. The PS5 Pro is being pushed to the absolute limit. We also am a PC guy myself, so I've already had a chance to see higher-end PlayStation gaming or PC gaming, and I don't need that from PlayStation gaming as a whole, because I already have a 3080 Ti, I've had a chance to play games in 4K 60, and all these big upgrades are still going to be dope for the general consumer base and anyone who's maybe a big PlayStation fan, but at the same time, do we really generally need it? So it's time for another set of PS5 rumors and discussions, a console upgrade that Sony is allegedly making while Microsoft plans to potentially do the same, although it does remain a lot more nebulous, even though they did so in the last generation as well. So now Sony is potentially looking to get players to upgrade their current PS5s 4 years after their 2020 launch. Something around the 2024 release date for the PS5 Pro. And the latest rumors put a potential release date, as I mentioned, for 2024. Some expect to be announced at CES shortly, so this is going to be in the next upcoming few days, and I will go cover CES coverage, so subscribe for that. And other things as well, I won't be maybe for as long. Maybe people think it'll be a little bit shorter. Some people might think it'll be 6 months from now, maybe a state of play in the summer. No one really knows exactly, but sometime soon, most likely, if it is coming out. So the specs indicate that Sony is at least trying to produce 60 FPS on almost all games, and it would of course be the most powerful console on the market when it arrives, as they wouldn't even bother with it if not. And by this time around, it feels like the PS5 Pro is even more unnecessary than the PS4 Pro was. And it's going to be an odd release and a tough ask for an upgrade this time around. And I think it always comes down to two big things. Number one is that a lot of folks have waited a long time to get their consoles. Now, the shortage has only kind of let up recently, but don't forget there was like almost 2.5 years of people not getting their consoles. If everyone had their consoles day one, this might be a slightly different conversation. But we also really haven't had that many exclusive games, though, that have even come out this generation, besides like continuing Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apexes, etc., as those have been kind of the big profiters, but as well the big attention seekers too on top of that. So we do not know exactly how many PS5 Pros were sold in relation to the 117 million, and I wish I knew myself. And Shuhei Yoshida said it sold more than the PS4 Slim, but it's all about that we've heard. But it was apparently enough for them to try to replicate the concept again, and I'd be just kind of more curious on what they even want to use this for. Like a game like GTA 6, sure, or maybe new Call of Duties in the future, sure. But at the same time, like if most games aren't going to be simul-launch on the Xbox Series X Pro as well, that kind of throws me off. Because, well, at the same time, most console people like to go recreate both at the same time if they can, and it does make things a little bit easier because the specs are very similar for optimization and such like that. Now, if you're trying to make a PS5 Pro into PS5 into Xbox and your console only, it does make things a little harder as well. So there are some significant differences, though. So the PS5 suffered from the serious supply issues for the first 2 years of launch, causing many delayed purchases from consumers. So even if we are 4 years into the console generation, instead of 3 like the PS4 Pro, it still feels too soon. And I agree. Like, my question for you guys watching, do you guys, as of right this second, think it's too early? I made quite a few PS5 Pro videos, and so far it does seem like a lot of folks are skeptical. They're like, yeah, it might be a little too early. Yeah, I'm not going to probably do it. And I'm in the same boat. Like, I'm not going to upgrade my PS5 Pro. If anything, I might even ride my PS5 until it dies, and we go from there. Unless there's like a huge game that comes out, like, let's say 5 years from now. But even then, I'm probably more looking towards the PS6, or as well hoping for a PC simul launch as well, especially because we're soon trying to see Steam and PlayStation get more games released, or Epic Games Store, etc. as well. They also say, but on the other side of the coin, being 4 years into a console generation may make other early adopters feel like they might as well just wait for PS6. That's literally what I just said before even reading this part of the article, and I would probably agree, because guess what? If we wait another year, and the console seems cool, but not like really worth the money, think like a PSVR 2, then guess what? I don't mind waiting another 3 years if the specs are still similar. And if we've seen anything with the Nintendo Switch especially, is those consoles will last a long time, and even if things are starting to get dated, if there's things being sold for it, they will. Think also the early generation, we had a lot of PS4 games being simul-launched with PS5 games, like God of War or Horizon. So what's going to stop that maybe from even happening for this upcoming PlayStation 6 and PS5 as well? So once again, it's not really just needed. Like, it's a nice bonus. I think it's cool for the elite folks who want to go have the slightly better specs, or they're just really into PlayStation games, which they're out there, they're cool. But I think a lot of folks that are just general gamers will usually go in the PC route instead of upgrading their consoles. It just kind of depends on the family, what you're doing. Like, I feel like parents can make a little bit more sense to have a console. Easier to set up, easier to plug and play, you update stuff, no problem. But let's say you're someone like me who is 29 and single, which is horrible. Please, someone go and fall in love with me. But the part two of that is, when it comes to that, I have more time to have a PC. I can do more PC gaming. It's not the world's worst over there. They're also saying we're also living in an age of tremendous price inflation. And while the PS4 Pro launched at $400, the same price as the PS4 at launch, there's no telling how much the PS5 Pro might cost. And I do think the PS5 Pro would cost more as well. And that kind of leads towards people not wanting to spend the extra consumer money. Because while people might go and buy it and get it, we still have the PlayStation VR, which has not been selling that well. And we even made a video on that, too, on that discussion. So as you recall, it was a $450 for the digital version and $500 for a disc version. Now there's only a $450 one with an optional disc drive for $80. So they're trying to say at least probably $500 for PS5 Pro. I'd probably put it more towards $600, if anything, depending on the spec improvements, how the supply and everything else is going on, too, as well. So I don't know. And they also they also say that there's also the current generation has been a bit odd with its exclusives, and that's kind of what I also mentioned too as well beforehand, because they don't want to leave all these old players around from the PS4, but at the same time we also want to see them focus on making next generation games that are actually nice and good and taking advantage of the specs we also have. Although we could maybe see some kind of things with, like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or other various games, but I'm excited nonetheless to go and see on the PlayStation actually utilizing the graphics and specs they have. Because right now, if they made all their bigger games, God of War, Horizon, etc., on the PS4 as well, we're only now seeing them pushing into pure PS5 games, say like Spider-Man, etc. We just haven't had a chance to fully gusto up the PlayStation. And as well, like, do we really need to go get a PlayStation 5 Pro? Might be rough. And they also even brought this up too, because I think this is where the big discord came from. The GTA 6 itself is like probably the big push, where they want to have those like 60 FPS factors, and at the same exact time, like, we want those, we need those, we should get those. But is someone want to spend the extra money to upgrade just to get GTA 6 at 60 FPS? When they could probably run it at 30 FPS pretty consistently, even maybe at 4K on a normal core console, because they're going to be making that for console no matter what. Consoles are where they're making a lot of money in GTA 5, but it does add a lot more extra gusto towards them making it like work. And that's why a lot of folks are assuming there'll be a simul launch for the PS5 Pro and maybe GTA 6, because you need something to take advantage of those upgraded specs. You need something to make people want to upgrade, so we don't have cool PS5 games or PS6 games when it comes out, because we want to have those consoles. We want to utilize the new generations of specs. So we'll have to kind of see how that plays on out. But right now, it does seem like a lot of folks are assuming the PS5 Pro is going to be maybe not necessarily the best-selling thing, and maybe somewhat on the outdated or unneeded side. But give me your thoughts and comments and everything down below. Are you guys going to upgrade or not? Make sure you guys also check out the Samsung pre-order links with brand new phones. You get a bunch of free money and also a reservation credit with no lock-in needed. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. You have the Twitter and Twitch down below too as well. I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.